Is your debt causing you sleepless nights? Knock your debt out with Debt KO. And your debt won't be the only thing keeping you up at night. Debt KO, free impartial advice on all your debt.
This is AHMED for IFL TV in association with MCK Global. I'm joined on Zoom via all the way from Las Vegas. Mr. Bob Arum joins me on an absolutely huge fight week, the biggest fight week of the year, Bob. And from a UK perspective, we're glad we actually have got it. It's on Fight TV. Just talk to me about that fight ending up on Fight TV here in the UK.
For me, as a boxing promoter, but more than that, as a guy who's followed boxing for most of my life, this fight is a fascinating fight. You have one of the great technicians in the sport, in Lomachenko, first as an amateur, then as a professional, and he's fighting this brash young kid who's walked through all of his opposition, tremendous puncher, very quick, has a good boxing intelligence. And the question is, does he have the experience and the ability to unlock the puzzle that is Vasily Lomachenko? We'll have to see. I mean, if I try to tell you a prediction or anything, I wouldn't be telling the truth because I have absolutely no idea how it turns out.
Bob, as I said, the fight has landed on Fight TV here on the UK. It's £10 we've got to pay. Just talk to me about how that's landed on Fight TV. Obviously, it's not on Sky or BT.
Well, in the US, it's on ESPN, and ESPN has made it available to all of the people, cable subscribers, satellites, who get ESPN, close to 100 million homes. So it'll be a tremendous audience. In the UK, neither BT or Sky Sports was interested in paying a license fee to show that fight. So our good friends at Fight app said that they would show it because there's so many boxing fans that want to see that fight in the UK, and we checked on the price that they would charge, and it's a little less than £10, which seemed reasonable, and we gave them the go-ahead to do it.
Yeah, it was worrying for a lot of fans in the UK that this wouldn't land on television. As always, he said Sky or BT weren't interested in it, but we're glad to have it on our screens on a Saturday night.
Yeah, I just think that BT and Sky have to reevaluate the way they handled the sport of boxing. I mean, that's why I give Frank Warren credit. Apparently, he has this Du Bois and Joyce fight, which is a terrific heavyweight fight, and he's not doing it on pay-per-view. He's just making it available to BT subscribers, and that's the way to go. That's the way to go. People, I assume, over in the UK, as well as I know here in my country, are suffering tremendously economically from the effect of the pandemic. And got to be really careful how and where you charge them charge people on pay-per-view.
Well, yeah, in the States, tune in on ESPN, and obviously in the UK, as I said, Fight app TV for the best fight of the year, in my opinion. Let's move on to the heavyweight division, Bob. So what is the situation with Fury Wilder 3? Why has this collapsed, Bob?
Well, the fight contractually had to take place sometime in July, and there was a provision for a postponement into October. And then Fury agreed that he would do the fight on December 19th. Why December 19th? Because our big, beautiful, new couple of $1 billion stadium that's been built in Las Vegas, where our football team, the Las Vegas Raiders, play, would be available, and we could get permission to do it for 10 to 15,000 people in attendance. And then what happened was the networks, Wilder's network, Fox, and our network, ESPN, that were going to distribute the pay-per-view, said, hey, you can't go December 19th because there are 5 college football championships, they're huge, on that day, and 2 NFL games, which are like the equivalent here of your Premier League games, on the same day. So, how much television can people watch? And, are they going to pay money to watch a fight when they have all these great football games? So we couldn't go December 19th. And then we realized we couldn't go any other time in December. And Fox and EA gave us 2 dates, possible date, one at the end of January and one at the end of February. And when I discussed it with Tyson, he said, look, I've been training hard. I have to fight by the end of the year. So we arranged for Frank Queensberry to put him in with a top 15 guy in the BC ratings. We'll do that fight December 5. And then if Joshua beats Pulev, then next year, sometime by the late spring, we can have them match against each other, which is the fight that everybody on both sides of the pond wants to see.
Well,
so unfortunately for Wilder, Tyson is not under contract to fight him anymore. And so he's another victim of the pandemic.
There's a lot to pick up on there from there, Bob. Let's just go back to what you were saying about the college games and NFL. We also know that Fox have got Errol Spence and Danny Garcia on pay-per-view on the 5th of December. Was that a reason why you think Fox, they didn't want 2 boxing pay-per-views within the same month?
No, when Fox let us know that December 19th was out, then AHMED said, okay, then I'll put
Spence
Garcia on December 5, because then there were no more dates, no more pay-per-views on that month. So it wasn't the other way, that Fox, because Spence Garcia at that point was scheduled to go, I think, on November 21st, right?
Yeah.
So it was then shifted from November 21st, after the Fury Wilder fight fell out, to December 5, because they could get to put it in Cowboy Stadium in Texas.
Can we just confirm something for the fans, Bob, in that this contract where Wilder had the rematch clause, which he wanted to activate, that has expired? Is that correct, Bob?
Yeah, you said it wrong. Each fighter entered into a contract. Why was the rematch clause so time specific? It wasn't because we negotiated that it should be such a period of time. They felt they were going to win the fight. And therefore, they didn't want to spread it out like for a year or whatever. They wanted a short period, right?
Yeah.
So again, that contract provides for a relatively short period where each fighter is obligated to do the rematch. Once that expired, there's no contractual provision that would require either fighter to do a rematch.
Okay, so as you said, therefore, if Fury comes, whoever he boxes on December 5th, and Joshua comes through against Kubrat Pulev, then all roads are clear for Fury Joshua next year.
Right, but if Pulev beats Joshua, which is what I'm hoping for, then Fury will fight either Pulev or Wilder next year.
Got you. Bob, I think the burning question now is on December 5th. As you said, Frank Warren will be putting on the show on BT for Tyson Fury here in the UK. Who is the opponent going to be? There's been a whole host of names. Oscar Rivas, Ajit Caballel, Michael Hunt has been thrown in there. What can you tell us, Bob?
Yeah, those are the names. It's not rocket science. Go to the 15 names on the BC list. 10 of them are not available because they're scheduled to fight within the next month, the next 2 months. They're not available. I think Du Bois is there, Joyce is there. Well, they're not available. Chisora and Usyk are there. They're not available. Dylan White is there. He's not available. He's got a fight coming up. So you eliminated, and Parker is there, and he's fighting for, who I think is also there. So you end up with 5 guys who are possible. I think you mentioned 3 of the 5. There's Effie, the African is there. There's Agit. These names, the last names
Caballel.
Yeah, right. He's there. Rivas is there. And there are 2 others. There are 2 others that are there. And we'll have to pick out, see who's available, and pick it out. I mean, Rivas and Effie are top-ranked fighters, and I'm sure we could arrange for them to be available if that's who was chosen. Got to talk to Frank and to Tyson.
Bob, we heard Frank Warren come out on TalkSport this week and say that he wants to deliver Fury Joshua here in the UK if crowds are back and done at a state of the world. Where do you think that fight lands at this time, Fury Joshua?
Well, probably to an old territory that the Crown ruled over years ago. I think it probably ends up in the Mideast, but if it ends up, but it's certainly what Frank is saying is not wrong. It is more of a UK fight than it is a US fight. So if the choice is doing it in the US or doing it in the UK, I would agree that it would be better to do it in the UK. But the choice may be the UK or some other place where we're getting big offers to do the fight. Then everybody will have to chime in. Eddie Hearn, Joshua, Fury, Frank, myself, and figure out what's the best place to do the fighting.
Bob, let's go back to arguably what's going to be fight of the year. We might as well just say it now in Zepeda and Barancic. Just a crazy, crazy fight and a brilliant one for the fans.
Yeah, but Zepeda, boy, he's something else. I mean, you got to give Ramirez a lot of credit to fight that animal, and I say that complimentary, and to beat him is not easy. I mean, that guy never quits. I mean, would you have given Zepeda any chance after that first round where he gets knocked down twice? It looks like the other guy is so much more powerful. It's a blowout. It's almost like an embarrassing fight to put on ESPN because it was so one-sided. And then the second round, it changed. The third round, it changed the other way. I never saw a fight like that. You know, it's something, because obviously these fights aren't scripted. These fights happen, you know, but it looked like a Rocky movie, you know, like Hollywood did it, because the Hollywood, you know, guys get knocked down, they get up, they knock the other guy down. You know, it's all baloney. You never see it. This fight was like a Hollywood movie.
It certainly was. It certainly was. Jack Cattrall has come out with some comments saying that he will step aside and allow that undisputed fight between Josh Taylor and Jose Ramirez, your guys, to happen. So that's great news for Top Rank.
Yeah, well, I give Jack a lot of credit and his people, and he'll be fighting in the interim, maybe on the same card, and then a short period later, whoever's the winner will be obligated and will fight Cattrall. So I think it worked out for everybody.
Fights like Carl Frampton and Jamel Herring and Josh Taylor and Jose Ramirez, which are the obvious next ones for all the fighters involved, these deserve crowds and big audiences. But is it fair to say now that we're getting these big fights, especially at the end of the year, and even if fans aren't allowed in attendance or they're limited, we've got to put these fights on for the sport?
Look, let's be honest about it. The only time we're going to get safely fights with significant number of spectators is once we get the vaccine. Now, everybody got to be patient, and I think sometime, I don't want to talk like Dr. Fauci of my country, but I believe that sometime within the first 6 months of the year, everybody who wants to will be vaccinated with a good, safe vaccine. That being the case, we can go back to business as usual. Meanwhile, the fighters have to participate in these big fights, because it's good for me to say, you know, who've been around forever and whose career lasts a lot longer than the fighters, to say, let's wait and be patient. The fighters say, hey, we have a limited time in our careers. You know, great Hausman poem, A. Hausman's poem, to an athlete dying young. It wasn't an athlete actually dying, but his skills really run out when he's a relatively young man. You know, even if he boxes into his late 30s or 40, and he's considered to be old at that time and can't fight anymore, he's still a young man. So, you know, fighters have to fight. I could have waited till we got a vaccine to do Lomachenko-Lopez, but that wouldn't have been fair to Lomachenko. It wouldn't have been fair to Lopez, because for them, the clock is always ticking.
Is it likely then Taylor, Ramirez and Frampton Herring, they land in the Vegas bubble at the MGM?
No, I think that we're going to look and see Taylor Ramirez. Hopefully, we'll be able to do spectators at that time. You'll be able to do spectators. We'll see where that fight makes the most sense, and we'll put it accordingly. That's what we got to do. We got to figure out where these fights make the most sense. It's glamorous, you know, there's no place as glamorous for a fight as Las Vegas, but it is not always the best economic place to do a fight.
We close to an official announcement on Terence Crawford and Kell Brook, Bob?
I think we're going to do that this week, make the announcement.
Okay. Will you try and renegotiate with UK broadcasters such as Sky and BT for this Crawford-Brook fight?
To negotiate with whom?
With Sky and BT, the UK broadcasters, to put this fight on in the UK.
I'm like a fighter that gets knocked down, refused, you get up and you try again.
Fair enough. I hear that. You came out with some comments recently saying that you have a desire to make Warrington and Navarrete, Bob. That'd be a good fight.
Yeah, it would be a lovely fight. And I think Warrington is with Eddie Hearn, right?
Correct.
And well, I'll be talking to Eddie Hearn about that fight. I love that fight. I mean, that's a real old action fight. Two guys who never stop throwing punches. I think we'll set a world record for punches thrown in that fight.
Okay, Bob Arum, thank you very much for talking to IFL TV. Best of luck this week with a brilliant fight week in Lomachenko-Lopez.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
No problem. I'm sure Sunday morning the whole world's going to be talking about the fight. Top man.
Good.
Is your debt causing you sleepless nights? Knock your debt out with Debt KO. And your debt won't be the only thing keeping you up at night. Debt KO, free impartial advice on all your debt.